Your name has come up so many times, you're just like the missing link. So you really had your first touch at State Line Speedway when it first got started, 1956.
Yep.
You remember what it was like? Was it just an empty field at the time when you sort of worked there?
Well, like I said, my uncle and I, we cut all the brush in the front straightaway for the parking lot and pulled out all the stumps. And like I said, that first night it rained and everybody got stuck. Remember my Aunt Helen, my Uncle Bob, she lived to be 98. And she was more of a mother to me than my mother was. I lived with her from the time I was 13 till I was married at 19. But she never missed a race at State Line. They gave her a plaque one time, the most dedicated fan.
What was her last name again?
Clark.
Clark, okay, Helen Clark.
Helen Clark, yep. But they gave her a plaque at one time for the most dedicated fan, because she was there every race night before they even started practicing, you know what I'm saying? She was there early and stayed till the end of the races.
So in that 1956 first race, we've heard a lot about it, where it rained like hell, they had the race, but everybody sort of sunk in the parking lot.
Yep.
Were you part of the group that towed people out?
Oh yeah, we was towing cars out till 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, before we got them all towed out so they could go home. Yeah, things like that, you know, you remember more than you do a lot of the other things, you know what I'm saying? I remember Cliff Coons?
Yes.
He had Skyline Speedway.
Yep.
He had a race car, number 3, a white Chevy coupe. I bought that from him. It had a 235 Chevy in it, 6-cylinder. I bought that from him. And then there was already a number 3, so I put a 1 behind it with number 31.
Yep.
White number 31. And I remember one time, you weren't allowed to mill the heads. You had to be stock. So I went down to Frank Roman, Ronnie's father-in-law, mechanic. Yeah. But anyways, he said, well, bring the engine down. So I took the engine down there, took the head off it, and he took 1/8 of an inch off the top of the block. He said, if they pull the head, just make sure there's no pistons all the way up. But Frank Roman was 20 years ahead of his time. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And he was doing things back then that people didn't even think of doing.
Yeah.
Yep, he was quite the guy.
When did you start racing? How old were you when you first got behind the wheel?
Probably in my early 20s.
No kidding. And so your first experience as a racetrack was where?
Arkwright.
Arkwright, yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Van Arsdale.
Yep.
Kyle Van Arsdale.
Yep.
So you remember that name?
I sure do. Oh, and the track was named Vans.
Yep, Van Speedway, yep.
So you're up at Arkwright, but your brother raced there also, right?
Right.
Was that a younger or older brother?
He's older. He's a year older than I am.
And Fred, right?
Fred, yeah, year and a month.
Documentary on Van Speedway Arkwright.
Okay.
And we saw your name, your brother's name.
Right.
Your name, and you bounced back and forth winning features up there. So when you raced your brother, was there a little brotherly competition?
No, not really. One time I beat him in a race and my mother come over and she said, I don't know how you could have beat him. And I said, because I'm a better driver than he is. And that didn't go over well.
Dale, who's older, you or Fred?
Fred.
Fred's older.
He's a year and a month older than I am.
Year and a month, okay.
See, Rule took that car that Fred raced up the state line and he shortened up the one axle and made it narrow. Well, we went up there and they wouldn't let him race it. So then he went and raced at Dempseytown. He won a lot of races at Dempseytown for a couple, 3 years, 4 years, whatever. And I went down there that one time with that number 7 car at Dempseytown, and I beat him in the feature. It was a championship race and to give away a trophy. I could win the race and get the money, but I couldn't get the trophy because I hadn't raced there all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they had. But I do remember that. And but I always enjoyed racing. I always had fun. The thing I can say about Ronnie Blackburn.
Okay, please.
When we were racing, Ronnie never hit me and I never hit him to pass, to get by. He never had to hit me to get by me and I never had to hit him to get by him. He was a real clean driver. I do remember that about Ronnie Blackmore. But do you remember Sam Caldwell from Knox?
I do, yeah.
He couldn't get by you without hitting you. It didn't matter. If you was passing him, he had to hit you. If you was passing him, he had to hit you. That's one thing I remember about Sam Caldwell. He had, no matter what, he had to hit you if he was going by.
He's from Knox, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Knox, Pennsylvania. He had the Knox Speedway.
Yeah.
Yep, Caldwell.
Oh my gosh. So as you raced in that early time period, they were sportsmen, right?
Right, yep.
And so you really started at Vans, and then you, was it a natural to go to State Line and race? Was that?
Yeah. Yeah, we raced up there. Well, I had I run that number 7 car. But then, like I said, at the end of the season, I don't know what happened to the car. They sold it and that, so I went and I bought this car from Hoot Kaiser, number 10. Mm-hmm. It was an orange car, number 10, and I raced that, and I never changed the number. And I raced that, and I won the 100-lapper at State Line in 1966 with it.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, then the next year, I bought a new truck, and I was over the road trucking Holland to New York City and all over, and I didn't have time to race. So, Hoot Kaiser called me up. He said, "What are you doing with that car?" I said, "Well, it's sitting up in Ludlow in my driveway." Well, he said, "How about if I come up and get it and race it?" And I said, "Okay, go ahead." Well, he come up and got the car, and I didn't think nothing of it, you know. So one day I was down there at their little restaurant down there at Route 66 and 322 down in Clarion, and Hoot just lived down over the hill a little ways. He come in there and he said, "Boy," he said, "I've been looking all over for you." I said, "What's the matter? Need an engine or what?" He said, "No." He said, I owe you a lot of money." The deal was, whatever it cost him to get into the pits, he took that out of what he won. Mm-hmm. And after that, he took 60% and gave me 40%. Well, I paid $600 for the car when I bought it from him. Okay? And he said, "Here," he said, "I owe you $680. I only paid $600 for the car." And you know what? To this day, I've never seen the car since.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if it's still around down there. I'm going to go down someday and check with his nephew there. Some of his relatives, I'm sure they still live there on the hill there where he lived at. Maybe it could be down there sitting someplace in an old barn or something, maybe an old garage or something, I don't know. But I tell you what, I heard that State Line might be doing a museum for old cars, if anybody wanted to donate anything to put in the museum. And if I could find that car, I would donate it to put it in the museum.
That would be special. That would be special.
Because figure I won a 100-lapper in 1966 with it. And I think if I could find it, I think it'd be worthy to be put in a museum. Remember Rule Hansen?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Rule Hansen, his brother, David Hansen, was the mechanic on my car. Okay. When I won a 100-lapper. And I'll never forget what we had for a gas tank in it was a half a beer keg. You know, about this big around, about this wide, you know. But anyways, I raced that 100-lapper, and we had a caution with about 25 to go. And David, when I was coming around slow, he could run out the pit gate there. He said, "We forgot to put gas in it." But I finished the race, and I think I went around the slow lap with the flag, and then I parked over there, and then I drove it into the pits, and I think I run out of gas in the pits.
No kidding.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
That'd be pretty close.
Yes. Now, how long did you race, Dale?
I raced a few years with that number 31, that white car that I bought from Cliff Coons, and I raced a couple of years with the number 10 car that I won the 100-lapper with. But after I won the 100-lapper, I bought a new truck for over the road, and I was just too busy working, so that's why I parked the car, and then Hoot went and run it, the number 10 car for me after that.
And you're a car owner getting all these royalties.
Well, whatever. I mean, I would say probably when I won a 100-lapper at State Line. Yeah. Because nobody thought that, I mean, everybody thought all these other hot shots, Whitehead and all them other guys that were racing were going to win. You know what I'm saying?
And out of the blue, Dale Clark.
But they just never figured that, you know, I would be there.
Did you have some successes?
Oh, I did all right. I can honestly say it never cost me anything to race.
Ah,
I always made enough to pay for the fuel and the pit passes and whatever. But I never really had to take a lot of money out of my own pocket to race. If I spent $60, I made $60 or more to cover it. You know what I'm saying?